I met this girl when I was 10 years old. And what I loved most, she had so much soul. Hey everybody, it's Old School Heart. Yes, I did say it right. It's Old School Heart. And I know that it has been some time since you've seen a video from me. And for the few of you that love my commentary and love what I do here on YouTube, I just want to say thank you so much for sticking by me, for watching some of the older episodes. And to the new subscribers, welcome to the page. I was quite surprised to see how much my subscribers increased during my hiatus. Now, what have I been up to since the last video? I've been doing some self-development. And so I took a business course that's actually going to be related to what I do here on YouTube, and it's going to venture me off into a bigger platform and doing more humanitarian type work. I also took some time away so that I can volunteer in my community. It's so important that not only do I give commentary, give you good news, talk over some things, talk about where my girls at, missing black girls and different things like that, but I also put in the work. And so it was very important for me this summer to volunteer as much as time would allow me to. And then the last thing that I did was just more group therapy, more working on self, building self up. And so it has been a summer thus far of growing and learning and preparing to move to another level, because where my girls at for me is more than just commentary. It's more than just telling the stories of these missing black women. It's so important for me to do the work and to be about my Father's business. And so I don't want to talk you guys' heads off about myself. Where my girls at is about missing black women. And that is what I am here to do, is to tell these stories. And so without further delay, Where My Girls At, Season 2, Episode 1, Kimberly Arrington. I know that we've all been here before. We've had someone say that they're going to go on an errand and they'll be back in a minute. And we get lost in a TV show, we start cooking, we start cleaning, we read a book, and we look up at the time and they still haven't made it back. And in the back of your mind, you're thinking everything is okay. They may have done something additional, or they may have forgotten to tell me that there were other things that they needed to do, but they'll be back soon. In 2021, we have the luxury of cell phones. Everyone pretty much has a cell phone in this day and age. And so if we get to a place of panic, we can always text message that person and say, hey, where you at? You said you'd be back in a second. Or we can pick up the phone and we can call, we can FaceTime now, and we can visibly see that person and say, hey, you said you were only going to be a second. Where are you? We have that luxury now. But October 30th, 1998, that was not the luxury. And so when Kimberly told her parents that she was going to go to CVS to grab a snack and a beverage, they didn't know that that was the last time that they were going to see her. Kimberly Arrington was born May 28th, 1982. At the time of her disappearance, she was 16 years old. She was the middle child of 5 kids to Walter and his wife. Now, at the time, Kimberly was 16 years old and she was a sophomore at Jefferson Davis High School. And teachers would describe her as very, very friendly. Friends would describe her as very, very friendly as well. Her father, Walter, said that she was so friendly that he would at sometimes be concerned for her because that meant that she would help anybody. And unfortunately, when you are naive, it's easily to get taken advantage of. And so that was one of the things that Walter said in the early stages of her disappearance. But she was a really, really sweet girl. No problems at school at all. She was known as a neighborhood babysitter as well. And Walter, as he reflected on that last conversation that I talked about at the beginning of this video, was that she was excited about Christmas because this will be the first Christmas that she would be contributing, because she had made quite a few coins babysitting over the past few months. And so she was a babysitter. Her friend said that she was real fun to be around, always kept a smile on her face, was very, very positive. And one of the things that they said about her was that she loved computers. She was a computer whiz, and they could foresee her being really gifted in that area of like computer programming or something like that. And so she really, really had a positive outlook on life and a positive future ahead of her. So let's go back to October 30th, 1998. Now, Kimberly is at home with her family, and she tells everyone, hey, I'm going to go to the local CVS. I want a sugary snack. So I'm going to go get me a sugary snack and something to drink, and I'll be back in a second. And so this is about 4 p.m. on October 30th. Now, an hour has passed, and Kimberly's mother looks up, and Kimberly has not returned. And so they all actually, before they call the police, they actually go outside. They canvass the neighborhood in search of finding Kimberly. They go to the CVS to see if anybody has seen Kimberly at the CVS. They asked a couple of friends in the neighborhood, had they seen Kimberly? So no one has seen Kimberly. And so this is about 5:45. Okay, so they've looked around the neighborhood. They haven't been able to find her. The people at CVS said that they hadn't seen her at all. And so about 5:45, the family relents and they call Montgomery Police Department. And so initially, like in most cases, the police department say, hey, she may be a runaway. She may be with some friends. She may be with a boyfriend. And so they identify Kimberly as a runaway. They do not list her as a missing person. And the family is sure of one thing, as many families are sure of one thing, that this is out of character for their child, that this is out of character for their family member. And one of the things that I find so fascinating as I'm doing these missing person cases is that a lot of times the police department feel as if they know more than the family themselves. And so when the family goes to the police department and they say, this is out of character for my family member, this is out of character for my child knows the rules, and this is what needs to be done in our family. Communication is very, very important. And if they don't communicate, then something is wrong, because this is out of character for my kid. Police don't, in their mind, go, oh, we need to hop on it. They go contrary to that thought or the parent's awareness and go with what they think the child is doing, or what they think, where they think the child is at. And so they initially report this as a runaway. Now, as they're still trying to identify if Kimberly is coming back, the hours are passing. And so the cops have went to CVS themselves and asked, had anyone seen Kimberly? They've asked Kimberly's closest friends, have they seen Kimberly? None of the friends have said that they've seen or heard from Kimberly. They've been around the neighborhood. They've asked different questions. There is no sight of Kimberly. And the family is very, very adamant at this point that Kimberly, this is unlike her. She would communicate if she was going anywhere. She would not just up and leave and not tell them what she is doing. And that the only thing that she said that she was going to be doing is going to CVS and coming right back home. And so after a couple of hours, even the police have said, this is very odd. This is very, very odd. that no one has seen this young girl on the street at all. No one can identify her. So the only thing that they had left to do was switch her from runaway to a missing person. And the reason why they had to do that is because as they were gathering information, as they were investigating this missing person, they couldn't find anything on Kimberly at all. So not only do you have a number of people alongside that neighborhood leading up to the CVS not seeing Kimberly's face at all, there is nothing to identify Kimberly with. And so in most missing person cases, you'll find someone who may have seen that person walking. You will find maybe something left from that person, you know, like an ID, a purse, a book bag, something along those lines may be identified on that pathway to wherever they were going. And so in this case in particular, literally there was nothing. There was nothing, no witness or anything that could identify Kimberly at all, or a sighting of Kimberly at all, or possessions of Kimberly's. There was nothing there. And although initially Montgomery Police Department did not take this case as serious as they should have, after those few hours passed, they are on it as far as trying to figure out what has happened to Kimberly. Unfortunately, there were no leads in this case, and the leads that they did have led to nowhere. Kimberly was not a troubled child at all. She was a very friendly child, but she wasn't a troubled child. There was a lead or a rumor going around that Kimberly had an older boyfriend, but that was shut down very, very quickly. So they had a little to work on, very, very little to work on. There would be people that would call into the Montgomery Police Department with rumors and certain things that they had heard, and Montgomery Police Department took that very, very seriously, and they followed every lead possible. And unfortunately, as the days and the weeks and the months went by, literally there was no information. There was nothing to go by. And unfortunately, the case went cold. And not in a sense because they never wanted it to be that Kimberly was killed. And so they didn't want to identify it as a cold case, but they did want to move it over as they had no identification. They had nothing to assist them in trying to search for Kimberly. Now, as the years go by, what they do end up doing is reaching out to the FBI for additional assistance. And even the FBI, unfortunately, in this case, could not assist with the disappearance of Kimberly Arrington. It was bizarre. It was different. And at the time, the term human trafficking was not even used. We are now probably 5 years into human trafficking. And in the Black community in particular, human trafficking was not something that we really paid attention to. The idea that someone would take a family member, a woman in particular, and use that person and sell that person for sexual or work-related things was just not in our minds. This is a new term for us. And so back in the day, you know, human trafficking was not something that anybody thought of, especially not in 1998. But unfortunately, the more information that we have gathered on human trafficking, we know that it is quite possible that Kim was abducted and used for human trafficking. Now, in the state of Alabama, it is the one of the states that has the lowest rate of missing people. In particular, the city of Montgomery has a very, very low rate of missing people. And so this was even a shock for the state of Alabama, because they really rarely have that problem. But as I stated before, Montgomery Police Department did reach out to the FBI in hopes that they would be able to gather more information on Kimberly's case. And unfortunately, nothing was found. Now, one of the things that they were able to do was to Walter, Kimberly's father, he was able to give his DNA, as well as the daughter. One of Kimberly's sisters was also able to give DNA in efforts to also help them identify Kimberly, or if so, her remains, in an effort to, find her. And that also was not a lead or a help at all. Now, unfortunately, we've always talked about what happens to the family as they go through missing persons, right? We talked about the toll that it takes on the family, how hard it is for the family to deal with it. In particular, Kimberly's mother took the disappearance of Kimberly very, very hard. And unfortunately, in 2005, she did pass away. A lot of people have said that she died of a broken heart. And on her deathbed, one of the things that she made her husband promise was that he would not stop looking for Kimberly. And Walter did an interview a couple of years ago when Alabama declared a day of missing persons. He was at that event as the father of Kimberly, one of the people who was missing, who has yet to be found. And so he is definitely keeping his word to his deceased wife. Also, who was affected the most by Kimberly's disappearance was her sister. In an interview that I read, the sister stated that Kimberly had asked her on that day to go to CVS with her to grab a snack, and the sister declined. And she has regretted that moment ever since. In 2004, she had a child, and she named that child after Kimberly. And she reminds that little girl that she's named after her aunt. And she always says that the young lady always asks when she's going to meet Auntie Kim. And so that has been really, really hard on this sister in particular, and on the family. When you don't have any leads at all, no information at all, I'm sure that it will take a toll on the whole family. Looked at an interview that Walter did, and he said that there is not a day that goes by that he doesn't think of Kimberly, and that he does have certain moments where it hits him the hardest. Now, one of the things that the family did do in order to try to assist in finding Kimberly is they hired their own private investigator. And for a number of years, they tried their best to find the whereabouts of Kimberly. They would even went as far as to talk with the psychic. And the psychic did tell them that Kimberly was grown. She had 2 kids, but she had no recollection of her life before 16 years old. Psychics, that's hard. I always say that they're good and bad. I know that a lot of people have been a fan of Sylvia Brown when she would tell certain things. But I saw a TV show where Sylvia Brown, y'all remember her from Montel Jordan, where a lot of the things that she said was just a complete lie. And it's so crazy, there are some legit psychics. There are some people, there are some mediums that probably do have a good gift and can identify certain things. but a lot of times that's not a lead that a police can go by. That's not a lead that anybody can really go by. And unfortunately, that was something that was told to the father by a psychic, but it hasn't led to anywhere. Now, Kimberly actually did have a little bit of media attention. She was on Nancy Grace. Her missing story was on Nancy Grace, and it was also on Murray. But if you think in 2021, the media attention of missing Black women is scarce, just think about October 30th, 1998. It was probably non-existent. And so unfortunately, in Kimberly's case, and in a lot of Black women's case at the time, it was probably very hard to have any leads or any types of discovery at that time, because cameras were non-existent, and the idea of quick media attention for Black women, it just wasn't there. And so, as I do with all of my missing Black girls, is I will leave a picture of what she would look like at her age now, which she would be 39 now. I'll also leave the telephone number to, if you have any information or know anything about this case. Now, once again, Kimberly may be a part of human trafficking, and so she may not know that she had a life before being kidnapped, or before the life that she knows now. She may not know who exactly she is or who she was before then. And so if you've seen a person that looks like her, if you've heard of her story and you have additional information, there is a number that you can contact and give to Montgomery Police Department and missing persons. We definitely want to get her name and keep her name alive, because she may in fact be alive and be well, and just as unaware of the life that she had prior to being abducted. Now, thank you so much for watching season 2, episode 1 of Where My Girls At, Kimberly Arrington. I do hope that the family is doing well, and I know that they are keeping her name alive. I know that Walter is sticking to his wife's last wishes of keeping Kimberly's name out there and making sure that people are aware of her story. Human trafficking, once again, was rare during the time, and now we know that it is so significant. And so keep your family, keep them safe, keep them aware. Make sure that you are calling if you have a child, say that they're going to be somewhere and they're not there at that time. Make sure that you are keeping in touch with your family member and making sure that everything is okay. Now, I am going to be back by Sunday to give you a review on Finding Kendrick Johnson, the story of the teenager rolled up in the wrestling mat. And so please be on the lookout for that. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. I have missed you. Can't wait to share some other things with you. This is Old School Heart. Have a good day.